Hello Tennis Weekly listeners, this episode is brought to you by Tennis Channel.
Tennis Channel is the only place in the UK where you can watch the 2022 Davis Cup finals and catch players like
Felix Auger-Aliassime,
Matteo Berrettini,
Marin Cilic,
Francis Tiafoe,
and Denis Shapovalov
as they battle it out for their nations to become the world champions of tennis.
You'll also be able to catch the Battle of the Brits in December featuring Andy Murray, where he will be taking on the likes of Jack Draper and Dan Evans.
Plus, with the Tennis Channel subscription, you get exclusive access to original shows featuring top players, award-winning documentaries, and coaching videos.
Sign up now to Tennis Channel at www.tennischannel.app or download the app and use the code UKDC at checkout for 50% off your annual subscription.
That's just £12.50 for an entire year's worth of access to Tennis Channel.
So once again, that's www.tennischannel.app or download the app and use the code UKDC at the checkout for 50% off. And the link is in the description. Hey listeners, this is Joel, and just to let you know, this edition of Tennis Weekly Meets was recorded live and on site in Glasgow, where we were trialling a new sound setup. So you may hear a few odd noises during the episode. Regardless of that, it's a great interview, and Rebecca was a fantastic guest, so it's well worth a listen.
Please take your seats quickly, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you.
Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Tennis Weekly with Joel and Kim, sponsored by DownloadTennis.com. On today's Tennis Weekly Meets,
We speak to Billie Jean King, Tournament Director Rebecca James, to find out what it takes to stage the World Cup of Tennis.
Rebecca, thank you so much for taking the time out of your schedule to come onto the show here live in Glasgow for the Billie Jean King Cup finals. First of all, I've got to ask, how are you feeling? How's it going? Are you excited? We've seen some fantastic tennis already. How's it going for you?
I'm very excited. I think, this event, culmination of this year's competition, crowning the winners at the end of the week of the Billie Jean King Cup finals. It's an exciting week. It's an exciting atmosphere amongst all of the nations that are here competing. And I think it's just something very special, and you can almost feel it kind of amongst the players, the camaraderie within their teams and competing for their nation.
Yeah.
It's bigger than the individual player, and it's something very special.
And your role officially is Tournament Director. Can you just give our listeners a little bit of an insight into what that means? What does your routine look like during the tournament? What do you do in the build-up to the tournament? How does it compare?
So my role as Tournament Director is to make sure that the planning and delivery of the event goes to schedule and hopefully as smoothly as possible as well. So all of the operational areas of the event, from the venue layout, the temporary overlay, the branding, the court setup, security, health and safety, everything that goes into putting an event like this on, as well as the workforce, from officials to ball crew to volunteers to all of the contractors. It is a huge team and a huge effort, I guess, that goes into staging an event of this scale.
So, how do you become a tournament director?
That's a very good question.
Do you ask yourself that every day you're on site at the event?
I guess in a way I've had a love of tennis as a sport. I found throughout my career kind of that event organisation was something that I really enjoyed. So being able to combine the two is something very special, something that I don't take for granted, and something that I'm very proud that I'm able to achieve. Really, my introduction to the game of tennis was actually as a 7-year-old spectator when my mum took me to one of the LCA's pre-Wimbledon grass court events in Eastbourne.
Beautiful place to start.
So that, and from having tennis as a hobby growing up to, I don't know whether I would have believed that I would be able to forge a career in it as well. And but really along the way, I think it's just saying yes to opportunities that come along. I think that's what's been true for me. I've never really necessarily had a 5-year plan or known what was coming next, but like I say, it's really actually just saying yes to the opportunities could they come along, and just I thirst to keep learning, to keep experiencing new things, and certainly to be involved in the Billie Jean King Cup finals, and more widely my role kind of with the Billie Jean King Cup team from a British perspective. Those are definitely special weeks of the year.
You've got an amazing opportunity here to put on a fantastic event, and we're kind of living through it at the moment. Your role as tournament director, what is like your favourite thing when it comes to the role, and also what are some of the challenges you've had to deal with putting on an event of this magnitude?
Yeah, I mean, my favourite thing really is actually seeing smiles on the faces of the people at the event, whether that's spectators, whether that's any of the workforce groups that I mentioned earlier that might be involved, whether that's the players. Like, I guess sometimes I see my ultimate goal is making them or allowing them to have a really enjoyable experience. If you flip that on its head, though, a challenge is, you can't always please everybody, or you can't control how people react to things. So it's trying not to take it too personally. If kind of people don't see kind of the event or the same way I do, in a way, but it's having a great team around you, really, and it is the event, the experience on the ground is really about the workforce in the event, around the event as well. Those touch points with, say, the volunteers, the touch points with the public, the warm welcome as they're arriving.
We actually absolutely love the DJ. The DJ choice and the music choice at the venue has been fantastic. It's just literally tune after tune after tune. It's kept the energy up, which I think has been really important, particularly when, for example, yesterday we went really, really late and I feel like people's energy levels were down, and I like having it feeling like an event and not just, I think an event on the tour. It's got a little bit of a more distinctive feel to it. Certainly,
and that's exactly what we can do with this team competition, with an indoor event as well. It's sports entertainment, and it's making a showcase of it, and it's we've got world class players here on site competing in the tournament, and through their tennis they can inspire the spectators to get involved, pick up a racket, etc. But we also want them to have fun whilst they're here as well, and that feel-good factor.
I think that's an interesting point you made around indoor courts and how I feel like there's more possibilities in an indoor arena. I think we felt that. We were at Prague last year, and you do feel that versus going to more kind of traditional events, for example, in the grass court season. So from what we understand, you have been working at Nottingham as well. Can you talk to us a little bit about kind of what the difference is between like an event like that, which is outside, knockout format from day one, versus the format like here, when it's a bit more of a combination of round robin and knockout, but also the fact that it's indoor and you've got more opportunities to play with?
Yeah, of course. So, I mean, the main difference being indoors is you don't have to worry about the weather. As a tournament organiser, when you're trying to organise everything as it should be, and for the outdoor tournaments, the weather being the one thing that you can't control, it's an organised nightmare. So, yeah, certainly don't have to worry about that. But as you say, it's not just the music, but the indoor events with the lighting can have such more of a visual impact. And I quite like that, again, with this team format, with players representing their country, we can really, through the music, through the lighting, really build that sense of anticipation and excitement, and that's what I really love doing, because I get goosebumps when I watch the Hype VT video, and I just want everybody else to feel that feeling in the arena as well.
Chris really wants that Billie Jean King jacket.
Oh, I want the jacket.
He wants the jacket.
I want the jacket, yeah.
The winner's jacket.
Yeah, I think they were awesome.
I think you might have to be in the winning team to.
Oh, you've got to earn it, haven't you? That's the problem. And I also
we'll make our own one.
Yes, but Kind of touching upon the scheduling side of things, the hot topic on the tour is kind of late finishes and scheduling issues there. I think the nature of this tournament is there are a lot of matches to get through, and when people are playing for their country, they tend to go pretty long because they fight for every single point. I'd love to hear your perspective on how you manage the schedule so that it works for players as well as for fans alike.
I mean, we're trying to do everything within our control, I suppose. Like you say, you can't control the length of a match. Players do really rise to the occasion when they are competing for their country, and it creates some incredible action on the court, which is really exciting for spectators. So on that side of thing, there is a lot of excitement around those, really long battles. Equally, yes, it has a knock-on effect because we've got a lot of matches to get through. So, we've started as early as we possibly can do here, an hour earlier than they did in Prague last year.
Yep.
It's a medium-fast court. I suppose compared with the Davis Cup, the doubles is a match tie-break in the third set. So there are a few things that are kind of helping us here this week. And last night, the doubles, 44-minute or 47-minute doubles, but there were a lot of relieved staff too.
Yeah, we were blaming Jill Teichmann for that in that earlier match. For the 3 hours, close to 3 hours. Putting everything out of kilter. Interesting, you talk about the court speed as well, because I feel like we've just had the Paris Masters. They had a finish that went past 3 a.m. and I felt like they were asking for trouble on the slow court that they have, putting 6 matches on in an arena. It's always risking the situation. Just talking about this event specifically and the nature of it going to Glasgow, for me it's been quite a quick turnaround. It was allocated I think 4 or 5 months ago, and traditionally I feel like with events you'd like to have a longer kind of lead up time to that. What are some of the emotions kind of you're going through as tournament director when it's been allocated to say Glasgow and you're starting at the very beginning and you're like, I've only got so much time to put on an event? What's going through your mind there?
So what's going through my mind? My to-do list?
State of panic.
No, I think I guess the art of trying to stay in control is the calm outward atmosphere whilst like a duck you're paddling like crazy underneath the water. It's having, in all honesty, a great team around you, clear roles and responsibilities set, clear plan of action. Regardless of how long you've got to plan and deliver an event, you want to plan as best as possible in the lead up to the event, because on event it's always firefighting, whatever comes up on the day, and it's giving yourself the capacity to be able to do that.
Talking of kind of firefighting, there's been a bit of a challenge around the WTA finals finishing on the Monday, and then some of the top players are also here now. As a tournament director, are there things that you can do to try and make that kind of as easy a transition from one time zone to another, and to try and facilitate the players in that area to make it something that doesn't cause too much of a pain point for the tournament?
Yeah, so we as the RTA, collaborated with the ITF on our schedule here when that information was confirmed. So, for example, the teams that at that point in time were likely to have players in the finals weren't competing on the Tuesday. So we certainly looked at all of the possible ways that we could help our end of making it as smooth a transition as possible given the circumstances.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things that, and we spoke to Elise Mertens and she said she won the final, so she's like, as long as she won the final, she's happy to be here, which I think is the players are taking a really positive attitude, and that's what's great about that situation. We're going to comment on the fact there's loads of children and school kids that are here, and that's something that all the players have spoken about. That's very inspiring for them to be able to try and inspire others, and is that a big part of this event is kind of the outreach element and getting kids to be close to tennis and getting kids into the sport.
Definitely. I think, it's an incredible opportunity to be able to see world-class players. So if we can invite school children here, whether they are fans of tennis yet or not, or, ready to be converted, the power of being able to see live sports is incredible, I think, and very inspirational. and can, help to inspire someone to pick up a racket or, to get involved in the game in any other way. And, we've got girl guide groups coming as well, and, other community activation around it. So from a visibility point of view, the photo exhibition with Getty in the city centre as well. We've had female performance coaches up earlier in the week with a behind-the-scenes tour. So we're looking a bit at the workforce side of things, and then on participation, local children have been competing in a girls set and match competition, which culminates at Scotstoun tomorrow, and then they'll be coming down to watch the tennis as well. Right. So, hosting these events really...
The bigger picture is really important, isn't it?
Yeah, it can definitely help support and drive so many different kind of programs and initiatives and work that the LTA is doing.
And from your experience as a whole, as a tournament director, what are for you the key ingredients that you need, I think, to run a top tier kind of tennis event like the Billie Jean King Cup?
I would say a great team around you, a calm approach to things. Having perspective. It's knowing what you can control, and focusing on that, and also on the ground in terms of during the event, and it can be long days, and it's I think it's about also kind of how you react to things. I'm I think naturally kind of quite a positive person, glass half full, always a smile on my face, and I hope that's has a positive impact on my team as well, gives them confidence. So certainly, great team around you, and a calm exterior.
I think we're both up for that then. I think we'd make a good tournament director. I was going to ask you around the UK, and what is it about the UK that makes for such great tennis events?
That's a very good question. Yeah, I think we have grown a reputation for hosting great events. Obviously, we have annual events during the month of June in the grass court season, which is a great shop window for our sport. But being able to stage events outside of that period as well, that comes back to the visibility point as well, I think, in terms of growing awareness and having world-class events at different times of the year, so you can keep tennis in the spotlight, keep talking about it. We've been able to do that more and more over kind of maybe the last 5 years or so, especially when as we're at the Billie Jean King Cup competition, that competition back in 2019, we were able to host the first home tie for the GB team in something like 25 years. That was for me incredible to be part of, to put on that event in that year. And then like London Buses, we had a second one come on just a few months later, so we held two in 2019. But I mean, really the buzz for me is, again, when you can see the excitement of the players and they get that home support, when you can see the excitement of the crowd, again, that feel-good factor of live sport, there's nothing like it, I don't think.
No, I completely agree. And this is a question that I've always wanted to ask. As a tournament director, Heather Watson's on right now. Does a tournament director always have to remain impartial, or can they back the Brits?
I mean, I back the Brits.
Oh, okay.
Is that a scoop? Might be a scoop.
I mean, yeah.
There's no
I'm
denying
British.
it. Yeah.
No, I'm British. Okay. I'm certainly supporting the Brits, but it wouldn't affect how I would deliver the events for all of the teams. Yeah. They all get the same treatment, but in terms of
being a fan.
Yes.
Yeah. And just actually on being a fan, on your bucket list of events, tennis events, like worldwide, what is on your bucket list? Where have you been that you've been impressed by, and where have you not been that you would love to go to?
Very good question. So I suppose I've been fortunate to have visited a number of events.
Surbiton Challenger? I
have been there, yes. Fortunately, I've been to all of the Grand Slams. And again, it's a bit of business and pleasure. I've been able to visit some tournaments, you know, just as, again, coming back to just being a tennis fan myself, and taking enjoyment from it. Although sometimes you can't always switch off. You're looking at the signage that another tournament does, or how, you know, certain things operate, and so you can't always switch off. But you can certainly, enjoy that. So where would I like to go that I haven't been? I mean, I hear all the players and a lot of like tournament staff say that Indian Wells is
it's a bucket list.
Desert.
Yeah.
So I'd really like to kind of experience that, see what they do, how they do it, see if any tips I can pick up.
Tennis paradise.
Yeah. I think a lot of people recently are saying Guadalajara is quite an interesting one because they had the WTA finals and they had the new event. Yeah. So interesting one. We've got one final question for you. It's a question we ask all of our guests onto the show. We are a British podcast. We do love our tea, and we've got to ask, what's your tea game, or do you have a tea game in terms of your cup of tea? Do you take milk? Do you take sugar? What type of tea bag do you have? Or are you not a tea person? You're a coffee person. It makes sense. Tournament director. It makes sense.
Need coffee.
Coffee, caffeination. I get it. Okay.
Yeah, I also had 2 years in France and they converted me, I'm afraid.
Oh.
Sorry.
Okay. No, it's okay.
Yeah,
it's
I'm
okay.
a coffee, just black coffee as well. Caffeine.
Okay. Wow.
Sorry.
Is that the first coffee
that-
you've
Yeah.
had?
It's thrown me. No, it's
The
thrown me.
first coffee of an
I
interview.
think it is actually. I
We'll
absolutely
put it on the board.
understand it. I think it's I think it's really appropriate given events. Tournament director, I feel like you just constantly need the energy up and caffeination can give that. But it's been great having you onto the show. Really, really insightful. It's been very interesting to learn and hear about how you put on an event like the Billie Jean King Cup. So thank you very much for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
And listeners, I hope you've enjoyed listening to this latest episode of Tennis Weekly Meets. We will be back next time for another episode of the Tennis Weekly podcast. So I hope you can join us for that. But in the meantime, it's goodbye from Chris.
Goodbye.
And it's goodbye from me. We'll see you again soon.